Story time about my toxic ex-friend group. So my freshman year, I had moved to a new high school. So right away, I started being friends with this group of girls, and they were super nice. And I was also friends with this group of guys. Well, since I was friends with both groups, we all started hanging out all the time, but only whenever I was there. The boys just didn't want to hang out with the other girls. And after a few months, the girls started acting really strange. So anytime that I would hang out with the boys and not invite them, they would ignore me for a whole week. Meaning they wouldn't talk to me in school, they wouldn't answer my messages, or anything like that. Not a single one of them. And also, anytime that we hung out, they would be like, oh, invite the boys. And it was like they never wanted to hang out with me. So the one night, one of the boys was throwing a party. And I was going, and the girls asked if they could come, but they had drama with a lot of people, so the boys didn't want them coming, but I invited them anyways. Like for part 2 to the toxic ex-friend group story time. So, I invited them to the party, they showed up, and they were being really rude and standoffish the whole entire night. And these girls literally hated it whenever I would hang out with the boys or talk to the boys. Come to find out that every single one of the girls had a crush on every single one of the guys that were in my friend group. Also, I'm a very friendly person and will talk to anybody, and they got pissed off whenever I was talking to anybody who wasn't them. So a little bit into the party, I start getting a lot of dirty looks from a lot of different girls that I've never even talked to. And this girl walks up to me and she's like, why have you been Snapchatting my boyfriend? And I'm like, girl, what are you talking about? She goes, a few of your friends told me that you like my boyfriend and that you've been Snapchatting him and trying to get with him. So then she calls the girls over from my friend group and goes, didn't she tell me this? And they're like, yeah, she tries to get with everybody's boyfriend. So after that, I got kicked out of both friend groups because they spread a bunch of lies and rumors about me.
I think I'm ready to move out of my house. So this story happened 2 weeks ago, but holy shit. So basically we all know I stay up pretty late every night. And this day I was up till I think 4 a.m. But what I'm about to tell you happened at 3:30 in the morning. So I'm chilling in my bed. My sister and my dad had just left for the gym. I know 3:30 is really early, but that's when they go to the gym. So I was all home alone. And I'm getting ready to go to bed when I hear a big thump in my bathroom. It kind of sounded like somebody threw a ball at my wall. So I'm like, okay, that's a little weird. Might have to check it out. So I go into my bathroom and my mirror is cracked. We ended up taking it out of the bathroom, but this is what it looks like. It has this big crack right here. But it was really weird because I don't know how it could have cracked. And it's really weird how I heard a thump and then my mirror was all of a sudden cracked. But nobody was home, so nobody could have but it only gets worse.
This is why you should always keep a diary. Once there was a young woman in Korea who was blind in one eye. She decided that once she saved up enough, she would get a cornea transplant. Eventually she did, so she scheduled the surgery. She was very excited for it, however, afterwards things took a terrifying turn. She stopped texting and talking to her friends and even her family with no explanation. People thought she just needed some time to recover. However, eventually her parents grew worried about her and went to her house. They knocked on her door, but there was no reply. Then they called the police, who broke down the door. Inside the house, they found the young woman lying in a pool of her own blood. Her parents were devastated. No one could understand why she did this to herself. Perhaps it was just a social isolation. However, this theory was quickly changed when the police kept investigating. All the mirrors had been smashed in the house as well as all other reflective surfaces. But it wasn't until they found the young woman's diary that they really found out what was happening. When they flipped open her diary, they found that on the last few pages she'd written over and over again, "My right eye is staring at me."
Story time about the boy who pretended to like me to get closer to my best friend. A little background information. It was the summer before my freshman year of high school, and my best friend and I got bored of hanging out with the same people, so we got a membership to a new pool. And this one was closer to one of our rival schools, so a lot of people that we didn't know went there. Well, the one day while we're there, we meet this group of boys. And by the way, my friend is super pretty. All the guys immediately gravitate towards her, and I'm kind of like the duff, aka designated ugly fat friend. Anyways, while she's over there talking to all the boys, I'm sitting down at one of the tables. And one of the boys from the group comes over to me and starts talking to me. And he was being super sweet. And then he's like, oh, I don't know why all of them are over there talking to her. She's not even that pretty. He was like, to be honest, you're way better looking than her. Now listen, I know I might seem like a bad friend for this, but I never had that male validation before. So that kind of made me feel good. Well, fast forward, his best friend and my best friend start dating, for part 2. Welcome back to another toxic best friend story time. A little background information. I was friends with this girl since elementary school, and we had a really good friendship until we got into high school. Like, we always got along, never fought over boys. Well, during our freshman year, this new boy started at our school. Well, I started talking to him. And after a month of still talking to him, my best friend goes, "I don't think you should talk to him. He talks to a lot of girls." And because she was my best friend, I didn't think she would lie about that. I believed her and I stopped talking to him. Well, that weekend, I went over her house. And when I walked in her room, she goes, "Oh, say hi." And who else is on the phone but the boy she told me not to talk to? So after they got off the phone, I was like, "Let me guess, you told me to stop talking to him because you liked him." And she goes, "Yeah, I just knew that if I told you I liked him, you wouldn't stop talking to him." So that night, we went to a party, and he was there. And things started to go south, like for part 2. Part 2 to my most recent toxic best friend story time. Little background information. I told him the reason why I didn't want to talk anymore was because I just didn't want a relationship. So we get to the party, and him and his friends were there, so she went over to them. And I went and talked to other people because I just didn't want it to be awkward. Well, an hour later, we all met up again, and I started having a conversation with him. Well, I guess my best friend didn't like that, so she started embarrassing me in front of everybody. So she starts talking about how my clothes don't fit me right and I look like a blah, and how my boobs are so much smaller than hers, and how I don't have an ass. Literally in front of everybody, just embarrassing herself. And me. So after that, she went to the bathroom to throw up because she had way too much to drink. And him and I started talking. And he was like, "Why wouldn't you just tell me that you didn't like me?" And I was like, "What do you mean? I just didn't want a relationship." He goes, "Oh, well, she just told me that you like somebody else." So that was the last straw, and I just left her at the party.
Do you style your hair the same way every day? Well, there's an urban legend about a woman who always wore her hair in a bun, but for her, this habit would lead to something terrifying. This woman loved wearing her hair in a bun, but she might have taken it a bit too far. She didn't want to style her hair differently or even take out her bun to clean her hair. Whenever she took a shower, she would just wear a shower cap to make sure the water didn't mess up her bun. At night, she would sleep with a towel around her hair so the bun didn't move. After a while, she had to put hairspray in it to mask the smell. Then her scalp started feeling itchy, so she would put more hairspray in it. Even when the itching got intense, she just applied more hairspray. But her husband finally found out about how bad the situation had gotten when he woke up one day and his wife was still asleep. He tried to wake her up, but she wouldn't move. She had died in the middle of the night. The husband called the police, fearing that something unusual might have happened. But when her body was examined, they finally took out her bun. Inside her hair, they found something terrifying. They found a huge spider had gotten into her hair, made a nest, and laid eggs. When the baby spiders hatched, they bit through her skull and ate her brain. Have you ever met someone who wouldn't take no for an answer? That's what happened to Jillian, but things took a strange and unexpected turn. Jillian always went to this one cafe, and one day she bumped into a young man. His name was Charles. Charles came from a wealthy family and thought that no woman could ever say no to him. He asked Jillian to have coffee with him, and she did. They had a friendly conversation for a while, but by the time the cafe was about to close, Charles gently grabbed Jillian by the hand and asked her out. She said, "I'm sorry, you're just not my type," and left. This made Charles furious. From then on, he'd come to the same cafe every single day to hope that Jillian was there. It got to the point where Jillian would look through the window and see Charles waiting for her. She'd feel uncomfortable and leave. It just seemed like he wouldn't take no for an answer. But things were not so simple. One day, it was the final straw. Charles brought flowers to the cafe and waited for Jillian. When she didn't show up, Charles took the flowers, threw them on the ground, and stomped on them. He yelled, "That's it, I'm gonna make you my girlfriend if it's the last thing I do." The next day, he looked up Jillian's address in the phone book and went to her house. But he could never have expected what he would find there. Follow for part 2.
Toxic best friend story time. So I had an off and on friendship with this one girl. In my freshman year, we became friends again. And she had this boyfriend named Nicholas. And they literally fought 24/7. And every time she would fight, she would be like, "Can you please fix this for me?" So she would have me add him on Snapchat, fix it, and then block him. And guys, this literally was happening like 5 times a week. And then after she asked me to do that the first few times, I realized she started going through my phone. And when I say my phone, I mean my whole motherfucking phone. A bitch was going through my Snapchats, DMs, text messages, and I didn't know how to confront her because that's just weird. So the one day I was getting ready at her house because we were about to go out, and she was like, "I'm grounded, can I use your phone real quick?" And I was like, "Yeah, just let me Snapchat this last person back." And she goes, "No," and rips the phone out of my hand. And she starts going through my Snapchat right in front of me. And I had a streak with this kid named Nick. She goes up to me and says, "What the fuck is this?" Like for part 2. Okay guys, I'm making a part 2 right now, and I'm literally laying in bed. I took off my makeup, and you guys have to realize that I literally do these videos at like 10 o'clock at night, and they get posted at like 1 in the morning, and then I go to bed at like 2. And for all of you commenting I'm clout chasing, bro, chill out. It's been like 3 hours. So anyway, she comes up to me and shoves the phone in my face and goes, "Who the fuck is this?" And I literally looked at her and started laughing my ass off. And she was like, "What the fuck is so funny, Kaylee, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Go ahead, hold on the name." And she held on the name and realized it wasn't her fucking boyfriend. So I packed up my things while she literally went and sat on her bed and started crying. She was like, "I don't want to lose my best friend." So fast forward, her and her boyfriend broke up. Her and I weren't friends anymore. And then she would always try to accuse me of getting with him. Moral of the story, don't get involved in other people's relationships. Bye guys. Story time about my shitty ass ex-boyfriend. So a little background information. My ex and I have been dating for about 2 years. And throughout those 2 years, he was a dick. He would cheat on me, talk to other girls more than me, but of course I pretended that everything was perfect in my relationship. I would brag to all these people about how my relationship was so good, blah, 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 and everything.
Hope you guys liked this video and found it helpful. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. It does help support us, and let's know what videos you guys want to see.